va ku languterile vinyi va misava va lava ku vona hi mahlo va ku twa hi tindleve ta vona vulavula na tihosi ta hina wa president Zuma vulavula na tihosi ta hina wa president Zuma va ta ku yingisela marito ya wena eka tihosi ta hina I marito ya mfumo wa hina wa Afrika-Dzonga lontshwa ku vulavula ka wena mchaviseki I ku vulavula ka African National Congress ku xiximiwa ka Indian ndhavuko wa hina eAfrika-Dzonga I ku xiximiwa I ndhavuko wa mfumo wa hina lowukulu mfumo wa African National Congress ngokusebenzisana kwakho president Zuma nendlu yamakhosi izolo eNingizimu Afrika lizoba nenkazulu lizoba ngokusebenzisana kwakho president Zuma nendlu yamakhosi ilizwe leNingizimu Afrika ilizwe leNingizimu Afrika lizoba vulavula na tihosi wa president Zuma tiko ra Afrika-Dzonga ri ku yingiserile va byele mchaviseki u ku I ndlela aye yaloye
Thank you very much. May we observe a moment of silence or meditation. Thank you. You may be seated. Photographers, you are now allowed to capture photos for only 2 minutes from where you are. Thank you very much. I think you have exhausted your time now. I would like to announce to this August House that this is the first sitting of the 4th session of the 5th National House of Traditional Leaders, convened in terms of the subsection 8, subsection 1A of the National House of Traditional Leaders Act of 2009, Act 22 of 2009, which states that, I quote, the president or a person designated by him or her must address the annual official opening of the National House. The sitting is therefore for this purpose and this purpose only. Distinguished guests, my warmest greetings to all of you, and thank you very much for gracing this occasion. I would like to welcome the first citizen of our country, Honorable President of the Republic, His Excellency Ubabu Zuma. Can we welcome the President? Honorable President, you are always welcome to visit the House and address it at any time you so wish and as your schedule so permits. Allow me, honorable members, to humble myself as I welcome their majesties that are here with us. This is their house. The house belongs to them. Your majesties, this house is blessed with your presence. A round of applause. And that is Khosikgolo Yabapedi, Khosikgolo KK Sikukuni, Hlabirwa Wabauba. Renale Khosikgolo Yavendalote, Khosikgolo Tony Mpepu Ramapula. Renale Kumkani Yamakhosa, Ikumkani Zolonke Skau, Azolonke. Kumkani kasi wa amahahabe, kumkani kasi noloyiso sandile, noloyiso. Morena emukulu wa batlokwa ba Mopedi, Morena e mogolo Thokwane Mopedi, dikgomo morena. Ikumkani abathembu basegota, ikumkani Mathanzima, adala imvula. Morena e mogolo Mota wa Batlokwa ba Mota, Motlokwa. Let me, Deputy Chairperson and members of the House, having said that, I will now proceed to welcome the following distinguished guests in our midst. The Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Ndati Sinuji. House Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Honorable Medi Khale. Thank you. Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Honorable Minister Van Rooyen. Oh, my apologies. Sneo Ukumkani Ndamase. Ndlovuyezwe. You Kakela 3 times. Minister Van Rooyen, you are most welcome. Minister of Small Business Development, Honorable Minister Lindiwe Sisulu. Deputy Zulu, my apologies. Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Honorable Obed Bapela. We have in our midst other deputy ministers present here today. We also have chairperson of the Independent Commission for the Remuneration of Public Office Bearers, Judge Musi. Judge Musi, Your Worship. We also have chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Honorable Mtakane. Of course, the Deputy Chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, Nkosi Esmahlangu Nzunza. And honorable members of the House, members of Parliament in our midst, former Chairperson of the National House, the founding Chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, Nkosi Victor Shubing Mufruzi. Oh, at the back there. We also are graced by the Chairperson of Ntuyadi Khosi ya Botswana, Khosi Haborone, and the Deputy Chairperson, Khosi Malope wa Bobedi, Khosi Haborone, Jorhanka Pula Bagaetsho. Chairperson of the United National Development Program, Re Fofang, members of Portfolio and Select Committee present, MEC Mtsweni wa Mpumalanga, MEC Makrupecha wa Limpopo, MEC Nomusa Dube Ngube wa KwaZulu Natal, the MEC Kasa from the Eastern Cape Province. Members of the National House and their spouses, you are most welcome, including my family, my wife and 2 daughters. Where are they? Thank you very much, all deputy chairpersons and chairpersons of provincial houses of traditional leaders. This is, of course, your house. President of Contralesat, Khosi Sitla Morago Thobejane, and Deputy Khosi Nyalala Bilani. Chairperson of the National Khoisan Council, Mr. Cecil Lefray. Heads of representatives of political parties present. Director General in the Department of Traditional Affairs, Ray Charles Noila, Dr. Noila, and Director General in the Presidency, Ray Lubisi. Director General of the Department of Small Business, Ms. Fries, Director General of the Department of Public Works, Mr. Dlabandu, and Director General of the Department of Labor, Mr. Tila Mati. Heads of Department of COCTA in various provinces, mayors, your worship present. We also have in our midst heads or representatives of Chapter 9 institutions as follows: the Chairperson of the Municipal Demarcation Board, Chairperson of the Independent Electoral Commission, Rema Shinini, Chairperson of the National Heritage Council, Reba Lintuli, Mayor Tupana of the Demarcation Board, and the Chairperson of MRC, Professor Sateke, and CRL Commission, Professor Musoma, the Deputy Chairperson of the CRL Rights Commission, and representative from business, in particular our special guest from Samsung Electronics South Africa, the Managing Director, Mr. Khan, and our special guest from Bush Telegraph, representative of the faith-based organization and traditional leaders, Baru Dubai, so you are welcome. And officials of government, ladies and gentlemen, you are all warmly welcome. Your presence is appreciated greatly. Thank you very much. Honorable President, may I have the honor of inviting you to the podium as it's time for you to address this august gathering. Distinguished guests, please join me in welcoming His Excellency, the President, to deliver his annual official address to the first sitting of the fourth session of the 5th National House of Traditional Leaders. Your Excellency, you may please address the House.
Thank you very much, Hoshi Ndabezitha, Chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, Hoshi Moban, Deputy Chairperson, Inkosi Mahlangu, Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Mr. Des van Rooyen, and other ministers who are here, and deputy ministers, premiers and MECs, executive mayors, your majesties, our kings present here, chairpersons of provincial houses of traditional leaders, first chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, Hosi Suping, honorable members of the National House of Traditional Leaders, President of the Contralesa, Hoshi Tobojane, and members of the Executive Committee, Chairperson of the National Khoisan Council, Mr. Cecil Leflue, and council members, representatives from the SADC countries, Chairperson of SALGA, and local government leadership, Chairperson of the Municipal Demarcation Board, Mayor Jane Tupana, chairpersons of Chapter 9 institutions, representatives from the business sector, clergy, and NGOs, all our traditional leaders present, fellow South Africans, Sanibonani, Dumelang, Tobela, Abshane, Dima Shaloni, Molweni, Huemore, good morning, Lochisan. I greet you all on this important occasion of the official opening of the National House of Traditional Leaders for its 2017 to 2018 business. The National House of Traditional Leaders marks its 20th anniversary this year, which coincides with the 20th anniversary of the Constitution of the Republic. We congratulate all traditional leaders for their contribution to the work of the House in the past 2 decades. Honorable Chairperson, the year 2017 is the year of Isithwalandwe Siaparankwe, Oliver Reginald Tambo. He would have turned 100 years old this year had he lived. We have declared it the year of deepening unity amongst all South Africans in the memory of this great liberation hero who wanted only the best for his country. It is also the year of advancing radical social economic transformation towards economic liberation, which has been our mission for more than a century. It is also the year of honoring those who sacrificed for this country. On the 21st February, we marked the centenary of the sinking of the troop ship, the SS Mendi, in which more than 600 black soldiers perished on their way to the First World War. Their sacrifice is a reminder of our brutal past and highlights the fact that South Africa must celebrate the tremendous strides we have made towards building a national democratic society, a society that is united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and prosperous. Honorable members, as we look back on the past 20 years, we appreciate the progress that has been made in building and harmonizing the working relationship between government and the institution of traditional leadership. The houses or structures of traditional leaders have been established in the provinces. The apartheid era, tribal authorities were transformed into traditional councils. We established the Department of Traditional Affairs, thus acknowledging the importance of the institution in our democracy. We are pleased with the participation of traditional leaders in municipalities and also in structures such as the South African National AIDS Council and other forums aimed at improving the lives of our people. Following the last year's local government elections, for the first time, traditional leaders participated in the councillor induction program. Progress has also been made in the resolution of disputes and claims of traditional leadership, from 1,244 in 2010 to 169 in 2015. This has been a difficult and sensitive process. Together, we have also assessed the state of governance of traditional leadership institutions and have introduced legislation and policies to enhance and improve its standing and operations. There has been the development of legislation like the Customary Courts Bill, as well as the Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Bill. The Customary Courts Bill aims to provide a uniform legislative framework for the structure and functioning of traditional courts in line with the Constitution and to affirm the values of customary law and customs in the resolution of disputes. It also seeks to achieve restorative justice in dispute resolution, promote coexistence, peace, and harmony in the communities, and to promote and preserve traditions, customs, and cultural practices. The concerns of women must be noted in the finalization of the bill, as it must not violate their rights or dignity in any way in its implementation. The Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Bill seeks to provide for the recognition of traditional and Khoisan communities, their leadership and roles, as well as the establishment of provincial houses and national house of traditional and Khoisan leaders and traditional councils. The House has rolled out the National House socio-economic outreach programs. Importantly, the initiation policy has been developed in order to save the lives of our boys and young men when they undertake the passage to manhood. We cannot continue losing our youth in this painful manner. There is also continuous engagement with government on issues of mutual concern. This is good progress indeed, although a lot of other matters also remain as we continue to build the institution of traditional leadership together. Some issues still require attention. The National House of Traditional Leaders must attend to the unending disputes within the institution of traditional leadership. These disputes retard development and social cohesion. One mechanism of ending disputes is to assist royal families to understand their roles in relation to the roles of the traditional councils. Honorable Chair, with respect to governance, we invite traditional leaders to work with government to make the Back to Basics local government revitalization program successful. Municipalities in rural areas will benefit from the support traditional leaders and structures in the implementation of the programs. The National House, working with provincial and local houses of traditional leaders, must also look at those traditional leadership councils that are not functional as per the assessment and develop a mechanism to assist them. It is also vital that traditional leaders participate in policy development, implementation, and monitoring. The influence of traditional leaders on government policy will ensure that we do not lose some of the culture, customs, and traditions that define who we are as African people. At the same time, we also need a review of the cultures and customs that are considered to be harmful, such as child marriages, forced marriages, or forced relationships that violate the rights of women and girl children. Honorable Chairperson, as we are aware, South Africa is a very youthful country, and this House has a responsibility to develop young leadership talent among young traditional leaders and royals. We are fortunate to have experienced and seasoned traditional leaders who can mentor and provide guidance to young leaders such as Inkosi Ngangomhlaba Matanzima, Inkosi Mangosu Tubuthelezi, as well as Kgosi Suping. This will enhance the restoration of dignity of our traditional leaders and the institution of traditional leadership. Chairperson, in the State of the Nation address, we emphasize the need for radical socio-economic transformation. This has been the mission of the governing party for decades, as articulated in the Freedom Charter, that the people shall share in the country's wealth. We have declared 2017 the year of implementing this vision in a more practical and visible manner. President Tambo, and indeed leaders of the ANC before him, spoke clearly about this mission of economic emancipation. Addressing the first Congress of the Angolan ruling party, the MPLA, on the 12th December 1977, he said, and I quote, "We of the African National Congress visualize a South Africa in which the people shall govern, in which the wealth of the country shall be restored to the people, and where the land shall be shared among those who work it. We aim to establish in our country a society free of the exploitation of man by man," unquote. The governing party declared at the last national conference in Mangaung in 2012 that we had entered the second phase in our transition from apartheid colonialism to a national democratic society. They said that the phase would be characterized by more radical policies and decisive action to effect socio-economic transformation. Today, I wish to appeal to the traditional leaders to join us on this journey. Access to economic power is a key grievance of our people at this stage of our liberation. We'll forge ahead to ensure that the ideals of transformation become reality through practical programs. We have produced enough policy documents and bills. Now is the time for action and not talking, writing, or analyzing. In the State of the Nation address, we gave the definition of this transformation as meaning fundamental change in the structure, systems, institutions, and patterns of ownership, management, and control of the economy in favor of all South Africans, especially the poor, the majority of women are African and female. For purposes of thorough understanding of what we mean, let me repeat this paragraph. In the State of the Nation address, we gave the definition of this transformation as meaning, if we talk about radical socio-economic transformation, what is it that we are saying? It's important for my leaders here to understand what we say. Let me repeat it properly, because I want us to understand it clearly. In the State of the Nation address, we gave the definition of this transformation as meaning fundamental change in the structure, that is the structure of the economy, systems, institutions, and patterns of ownership, management and control of the economy in favor of all South Africans, especially the poor, the majority of whom are African and female. Chair and Your Majesties and all traditional leaders, at the heart of our problem as Africans has been the fact that our political authority, our economic control, our land was taken away. At the heart of describing our freedom as complete, it is when these have been addressed. We've addressed the political power, we have it. We can vote, we can make laws, etc. The economy is not in our hands. We are not in control of the economic power. The critical element of the economy is the land. Our land was taken away, it's not in our hands. And therefore, the issue of the economy, when we talk about radical change, part of the reason I said at the beginning, the time to talk and write and analyze has passed. It is time for action, concrete action. This is a matter, I believe, the majority, the blacks in general and the Africans in particular, it's not a matter to quarrel about. It's not a matter to disagree about. If we do so, we'll not be putting together our strength. And we might get back to the time when the land was taken away from us as different groupings, when we're not united. We need to be united on this matter. Ministers and deputy ministers will periodically give me reports on what they have done to ensure radical socio-economic transformation in their departments, to ensure the empowerment of black people and Africans in particular. We urge our traditional leaders to use this opportunity to bring about economic stability and cultural development in rural areas. There are many opportunities, heritage sites ought to be developed in an effort to contribute to local communities through the promotion of cultural tourism. The Department of Arts and Culture, as well as small business development, will play a critical role in ensuring that realization of such partnerships and development as part of developing thriving rural economies. Government is also actively involved in revitalizing industrial parks, some of which are in rural areas and former homelands areas, to bring work opportunities closer to the people in rural areas and townships. To date, the Department of Trade and Industry has approved in excess of 280 million rand for revitalizing 8 of these industrial parks, and 10 have been identified for revitalization. 4 of the parks have been launched after the completion of the first phase of the revitalization program. These are the Seshego Industrial Park in Limpopo, Bushabelo Industrial Park in the Free State, Isithebe Industrial Park in KwaZulu-Natal, and Komani Industrial Park in the Eastern Cape. We are also expanding the Special Economic Zones program, including the former Industrial Development Zones, or IDZs. The special projects continue to play an important role in the attraction of foreign and domestic direct investment into the economy. To date, 8 zones have been designated across the country. These are Kucha and East London IDZs in the Eastern Cape, Dube Trade Port and Richards Bay IDZ in KwaZulu-Natal, OR Tambo IDZ in Gauteng, Saldanha Bay IDZ in the Western Cape, Malti Pofung IDZ in the Free State, and Musina Makadu SEZ in Limpopo. The operational zones have attracted in total of 69 investment projects which are already on site, with a combined investment value of 9.4 billion rand. In addition, there are already signed investment projects which are being prepared for rollout with a total investment value of 41 billion rand. The industrial parks and special economic zones must help us create jobs. They must also provide business opportunities for companies owned by Black people. In other words, Chair, we are saying during the apartheid policy, when we had homelands, you had what was called border industries. It was done with a different intention, to take us away from the cities. We are now saying, following our policy of rural development, taking services to the people, in their country free when they are in charge, we must now go to these areas and create jobs. So that we can reduce the number of people who leave their areas to the cities. And because the infrastructure in the cities was not meant for all of us, they end up staying in what we call informal settlements. In other words, we must be innovative in creating the economy that we must control. That's why we list these areas where we are now taking investment to, in the rural areas. When we say, let us develop townships and rural areas, we must be practical about it. What does this mean? It means we must work hard, stop quarreling among ourselves. We must push government to make it easy for us to open our own banks so that we can have money circulating among ourselves and grow ourselves better economically and be in control. That's what it is all about. Honorable members, the land question is central to the investment, to the achievement rather, of the national democratic society and true reconciliation and empowerment of our people. It is a central issue for traditional leaders. We have identified the weaknesses in the land restitution and redistribution program. The willing buyer, willing seller principle did not work effectively. It made the state a price taker in an unfair process. In addition, there are too many laws dealing with land reform, which causes confusion and delays. You can claim land today, by the time your people get it, you'll be dead. The fact remains that land hunger is real. This is not surprising, as this was the fundamental question at the center of the liberation struggle. Part of the reason this issue becomes very serious is that the place that we were pushed to by colonialists, which were called reserves, because our population has been growing where we stay in our areas, the land is not growing. Even areas to till land or for our cattle to graze has been reducing. So the space is disappearing. It's a reality. Our population is growing, the land is not expanding. So it's a challenge. And I think the time has come that we should fix all of this for the benefit of the citizens of the country. And therefore, the issue is absolutely crucial. And to attain the goal of radical socio-economic transformation in relation to land reform, we are looking at two critical actions. First, we must undertake a pre-colonial audit of land ownership, use, and occupation patterns. Once the audit has been completed, a single law should be developed to address the issue of land restitution without compensation. The necessary constitutional amendments would then be undertaken to effect this process. That's why we need to accept the reality that those who are in parliament where laws are made, particularly the black parties on this issue, should unite, because we need 2/3 majority to effect changes in the Constitution. We can't fight over nothing and not deal with the real issues when we are where laws are made and waste time instead of creating the legal institutions to address the problems we have of inequality, poverty, and unemployment. We are also looking at the possible redesign and establishment of the National Land Claims Commission as a Chapter 9 institution, so that it can have the necessary powers to help us reverse this historical injustice. This will also require a constitutional amendment. All of this will require unity and common purpose and action in the country to ensure redress and meaningful reconciliation, not artificial reconciliation. Naturally, government and the governing party would want to ensure that this is an orderly process. We do not support chaos and illegal land grab. Actions must be informed by the Constitution and the laws of the land. Let me repeat this paragraph. It's important for us to understand so that we are not misled. Naturally, government and the governing party would want to ensure that this is an orderly process. We do not support chaos and illegal land grabs. Actions that we will undertake must be informed by the Constitution and the laws of the land. That's the reason why I'm pleading that particularly the parties that represent the historically disadvantaged people must unite on these matters so that we have sufficient majority in Parliament legally to take these decisions. Because this decision must be taken and must be taken democratically. And we must use our majority to correct the wrongs in this country. Within the law, within the Constitution. It's absolutely important. And I wanted to stress this point to the traditional leaders, because I believe time has come that all of us should unite and speak in one voice, have the same purpose. No one will help us but ourselves. In the meantime, land reform continues on the basis of existing laws when we have not changed. You know, I can tell you some of the painful things. One of my great-grandfathers, who was a traditional leader, Ulgaju. Those who know some areas in KZN or the road from Durban to Johannesburg, if you pass Pietermaritzburg, go to Howick, there is a huge dam there called Midma Dam. That land belonged to the Zumas. And at the end of the dam up there, there is a grave of Lugaju. It is in the farm of a white person. If we want to go and visit the grave, we have to ask for permission. And if he says, no, not this time, we can't go. This is the reality, what is happening now. We've claimed the land. Laba babhukuda lapha eMidmadam mawubuyile lo mhlaba bazokhokha lakithi. That's economy. That dam is economy. There could be many of such examples, even worse than this one. The small town that you go through called Howick, the British came to us, one of my great-grandfathers, Nkosi Mafahleni, asked permission to build that small town. Asenteli rent economy ngokudala. That's economy. Chair, we urge our people that when land is made available, it should be utilized to produce food so that we fight hunger and poverty. Government has committed itself to support black smallholder farmers. We have realized that we did not do it properly at the beginning when the first land claims were successful. Because people were asked, do you need your land or do you need money? Money, because impande yeso, it's the root of all evils. People said, we want money. And because they had to distribute whatever, no matter how much, millions, by the time they got the money, it was peanuts. So it made no impact. So we think we need to help our people. The question of asking them a question is not there. Bring the land, help them how to make the land productive, to be economical. That's what we need to do, and I think we should work together with the traditional leaders on that matter. To date, an estimated amount of 2.5 billion rand was made available for the provision of livestock feed, water, infrastructure, drilling, equipping, and refurbishment of boreholes, auction sales, and other interventions. The Department of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries continues to support food production by women in rural areas and other subsistence farmers through the program called Fesatlala or Oshindlala that we launched a few years ago. Last week, we launched the Operation Phakisa program to improve the performance of agriculture, rural development, and land reform. A lot of good work has been done by government, business, labor, academia, professional organizations, and agricultural organizations to boost our agricultural sector. We impressed upon them to ensure that land reform and black advancement in agriculture feature prominently in the work of this Phakisa program as well. By the time the various sectors sign an agreement in July this year, the outcome must be one that advances radical economic transformation. It should not be business as usual. Honorable Chairperson, another key grievance of our people that I want to share with traditional leaders for support is the high crime levels in residential areas. There are communities where people cannot even walk freely in the streets because of marauding gangs. I visited Nyanga and Soshanguve townships, and I am worried by what I heard from the communities and the police. Crime is serious, and we must work together to eradicate it. Our people cannot coexist with crime. Drug trafficking, human trafficking, hijackings, robbery, rape, and all other horrible crimes. Let us refuse to tolerate crime. We have tolerated it for too long. I will be visiting other communities to provide support and to ensure that work is being done to make our people safer. I look forward to working with our traditional leaders in this campaign to make our people safer from these ruthless gangs. I've had a meeting with the cluster, security cluster, to discuss the matter of crime. I've said it is not possible that we cannot protect our citizens. It is not possible that we accept the fact that crime is there and it looks like we are helpless. We must do everything to eradicate it. We must deal with drugs. The damage that drugs are doing to our nation, we will realize perhaps at a few decades that we should have acted earlier. A few days ago, I met the young people in Soshanguve who are abusing drugs. All of them, with no exception, were asking, please help us. We want to leave this thing. It is destroying our lives. Don't want to continue with it. It's difficult to leave it because we go to rehabs and come back to the same conditions, and we get back to it. And I've once again talked to the representative of the cluster that were with me to say, let us have a plan to get rid of this. Perhaps these young people can be an entry point to fight crime. If it means establishing a center where they can stay. Those who are young, who could not finish school, encouraged, even if we create a school within the place or whatever we do, and take each one of them, give them jobs, and have as a national program to remove these. In other words, take them away from the environment which is very poor to a new environment. I think we need to do everything in our power to stop it. I think those who are known to be drug lords, whom I was told by the police know this, they are clever. They don't keep it in their houses. They keep it somewhere so that if you raid, you don't find. But if they are known they are selling drugs, let us deal with it. In my view, let us make the laws that are informed by our information. We need to deal with the source of the problem. And I'm making this point because the police might need support. Because at times it's difficult. When I was in Nyanga, the police officers said to me, "We've done our best to arrest criminals, but the courts release them. What must we do?" And it's a very difficult question to answer. It comes back to us. We can't, when we've made the laws, we can't pretend as if the laws are like 10 commandments that you cannot amend. Our laws were made by us. If they are weaker or they've got weaknesses, let us change them to be stronger. So I've said to the cluster, look at the situation because you must eradicate crime and make the laws that are going to help us to eradicate crime. You can't stay with it because the law says this as if the law was made in heaven. We made it here in this parliament, and let us change it so that it favors the victims. At the moment, the police were saying the manner in which the laws are operating, they favor the perpetrator than a victim. One police officer said to me, as we are standing here, 3 of us, if this one kills me and we are here, and you write details how this one was killed, and he is arrested, today, tomorrow he gets bail, he knows that when the court comes, he's going to jail. All he does is to work out a plan to kill this witness. And once this person is killed, what is on the paper has no force. He has no case, he's discharged. Now, to me, that is democracy going too far, overboard. Because not that it is not known that criminals go out to plan to kill people in order to remove evidence. It's known. Why can't we make the law to stop it? So I'm working with the cluster to ensure that we work harder on this one. Because no matter how much we talk about any other good thing, but part of the crime is actually related to poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Because if we have the economy, we have things that we need, there will be no poverty. There will be no people who wake up in the morning not knowing what to eat. But once we are dealing with the bigger issues, let us deal with these specific issues. We need to work together. Chairperson, we also seek to support, support of traditional leaders as we deal with another key grievance that we have received from our people, the need for the government to manage migration better than we are doing currently. some of the tensions that cause violence sometimes between our people and foreign nationals, including brothers and sisters from the continent, arise from problems that need to be resolved or solved. We have received complaints that government must improve the management of the borders and curb illegal immigrants, as it is dangerous not to know who is in the country and what they are doing. This is true. There is a country in the world there is no country in the world that encourages or freely allows illegal migration. South Africans cannot be expected to be different in this regard. Substantial progress has been made towards the establishment of the Border Management Authority, which will be responsible for border law enforcement in the entire border environment and at posts of entry or ports of entry. The BMA is being established to facilitate and manage the movement of people and goods in a safe and secure border environment, and under a highly capable, integrated, and command and control-driven national border law enforcement organ of state. We are convinced that this institution will greatly enhance our work in managing our borders and immigration. We have also received complaints about the employment of illegal immigrants. The Department of Home Affairs is working on this matter and will be cracking down on employers of illegal immigrants. The department has also indicated that they are working hard to differentiate between refugees and asylum seekers and economic refugees. Government will continue to provide humane assistance to all refugees and asylum seekers in our country. We recently opened the Desmond Tutu Refugee Reception Center in Pretoria to improve efficiency and support to refugees and asylum seekers. As part of promoting economic opportunities for our people, we made a call to provincial governments and municipalities to work with government to revitalize townships and rural economies, including, in particular, the general dealers and spaza shops. In other words, we want to revive the small towns in the rural areas, make them vibrant, create economies. We are aware that the ownership and management of the tuck shops and spaza shops is another bone of contention between citizens and foreign nationals in many townships. We do not want to dismiss this grievance by saying people are xenophobic. We have to ensure that the competition for scarce economic opportunities and resources does not cause serious tensions and violence. Another grievance from local is the hijacking of buildings and some houses which are used as drug dens and brothels, which involve child prostitution and trafficking. Government, through the Interministerial Committee on Migration, is looking into very grievance in order to find lasting solutions. As we undertake these investigations and discussions, we appeal to our people not to allow the actions of a few criminals to turn them against their brothers and sisters who are here legally, who are law-abiding, and who contribute to our socio-economic development program. We have been living together for decades, peacefully and harmoniously, even at the height of apartheid oppression. We also appeal to all non-nationals to ensure that they respect the laws of the land. Involvement in criminal activities will not be tolerated and will be dealt with according to the laws of the country. I will be meeting premiers and the South African Local Government Association on the 10th of March in the President's Coordinating Council. We will receive a report from the Interministerial Committee on Migration, among other issues on the agenda. We have to work together as the three spheres of government to find solutions. Chairperson and our leaders, I know that you are likely to be worried about the payment of social grants from the next financial year, given media reports. Social grants or social assistance are our most effective poverty alleviation program as the democratic government. We are proud of the progress we have made in putting many families out of poverty and misery, especially the elderly, persons with disability, as well as orphans and vulnerable children. I have confidence in the ministers of Social Development and Finance. They are working hard with the support of their colleagues in cabinet to ensure that all our close to 17 million beneficiaries receive their grants. We have continued with this program in spite of criticisms and opposition to many who say it creates dependency, because we know the importance of ensuring that poor and the vulnerable are able to put food on the table. Siyabathembisa bonke abathola izibonelelo zikahulumeni ukuthi uhulumeni wenza konke okusemandleni ukuthi bayithole imali yabo ekupheleni kwenyanga. Honorable Chair and honorable members, when we last met, the country was in the grip of a serious drought. The situation has improved in most provinces except here in the Western Cape. In the recent days, we have realized that the dams are declining by more than 2% week on week in the provinces. The water restrictions that are in place have not resulted in any serious savings. The Department of Water and Sanitation will be tightening water regulations in municipalities across the province. The agricultural sector has been informed of 10% additional water restrictions in order to curb excessive water use. The water restrictions will remain until the dams fill up at least to 85% of their capacity. Additional or alternative water sources need to be found, including the recycling of rain, gray and black water, drilling of boreholes, where there is significant potential in groundwater, and the effective implementation of water conservation and demand management programs, including the War on Leaks programs. National government will continue to support the Western Cape during this difficult period. We urge provinces that have had good rains to remember that water must not be taken for granted. We must save water, even when we think we have it in abundance. Honorable members, we congratulate you once again on the 20th year of this august house and 20 years of the national constitution. We look forward to another 2 successful years of working together to achieve economic freedom for our people. It is an achievable goal. The 2 years I'm talking about, that's when I pension. Only 2 years is left. Ngiyophumula nami kancane. Funa sisebenzisane kahle during this time. But, Honorable Chair, my leaders, I've raised issues here, and I don't want us to glide over them when we debate, particularly on the economic changes, the radical economic transformation, on the land issue, crime. These are issues I want to suggest we don't just discuss for the sake of discussing. If I had the right to request you, I would have said these matters, the weighty matters, I would have said the provincial houses first must discuss and make concrete proposals that they must submit to the National House, so that the National House would put them together and present them to government as proposals to help us achieve these. And also define your own role. What is it that you think you will do to ensure that working together with government, we can achieve economic freedom and get rid of the crime in our country and have our land back? These are issues that if they're not resolved, as I said in the State of the Nation address, reconciliation in South Africa will be difficult. Uma ngikhuluma ngesizulu, uma uhlala nomakhelwane, wathatha inkomo zakho, uyasenga, uyadla zonke insuku wena ulambile. Uzohlala kanjani naye ngoxolo? Habe bekusiba sisuthu hantle beklai beya ka Sotho. Yeah. These are issues I believe are matters we need to talk about and take resolutions. I think if we don't do it, we'll suffer forever. And we'll think God has given us his back. He does not like us. No. God gave us everything for us to do things for ourselves. God help those who help themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you, Ngamalala, Honorable President, for such an inspiring annual address. Much appreciated. We are indeed grateful. Thank you very much. I wish to extend an invitation to all of us present here today for the debate of the President's speech that will take place on the 30th of March, 2017 in this very same chamber, starting at 10 o'clock, to come and hear us debate. You are all invited. I'm now going to the final item, that is announcements. It is said that lunch will be served at Max Building, that is the Camp Coast Restaurant, and ushers will help us for directions. Now, photo session is at the entrance of the NCOP building. We will be assisted by the ushers. We expect that we will follow a correct order at the photo sessions. We will first have the National House members with the President, followed by the chairpersons, majesties, in that order, but will be assisted. Thank you very much for availing yourself to this August gathering, the official opening, annual official opening of the National House. The House is now officially open. We have now come to the end of our session, and this House is adjourned until the 30th of March. Thank you. All rise.
Yay! Yaloye President Wayne Mcholozi, Ngamalala, Gedle Ihlekisa Jacob Zuma. Isweswo wena mtshami wa xitulu eka yindlu ya vurhangeri bya ndhavuko wa hina eAfrika Dzonga. Hosi Phiphi Maubane, khabo mukhatla inamela sitlhari i xa vurethu. Byela varhangeri va yindlu ya Afrika Dzonga, byela va yindlu ya vurhangeri bya ndhavuko eAfrika Dzonga. Byela tihosi ta hina ta ndhavuko wa hina eAfrika Dzonga. Hi mi khomanana hi mavoko n'wina tihosi ta hina eAfrika Dzonga. Mi va xilo xin'we, mi seketela mfumo wa hina wu ya emahlweni. Misava ya Afrika Dzonga i misava ya n'wina. Tinxaka ta Afrika Dzonga hinkwato, tinxaka ta misava ya Afrika Dzonga hinkwato i vanhu va n'wina. Humelela ka vurhangeri bya African National Congress i ku seketela hi n'wina varhangeri va ndhavuko. Ganyula wa Msholozi u nga nanayini mitshavise Ganyu, aha! and